Guys, today we've got a special treat because today we have a bona fide Subaru time capsule. This is a 2006 Subaru Forester with only 33,000 miles on the odometer. This thing is perfectly preserved in just about every single way, and the customer brought it to me after purchasing it just a couple of weeks ago to do a full inspection and see what all it actually needs. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, Mr. Subaru, it's only got 33,000 miles. What possible repairs or services could this car need? And there was quite the laundry list, totaling out to about $1,500 worth of work. Now, again, you might be scratching your head, how in the world does a 2006 with 33,000 miles on it need $1,500 worth of work? Well, we're gonna go through the list of everything I found wrong, what repairs I've done already, what repairs we're gonna do in the future before we're returning this car to the customer, and just go over the car front to back with a full inspection. I've already done a full inspection on it, but we're gonna go over it together just so you can see what a 33,000 mile 2006 Forester looks like. So first off, this car was a tow-behind car for someone that was RVing a lot. There is a front-mounted hitch and a pneumatic braking system on the car. So there's some wiring harness and a trailering mount on the front. So it's very difficult to get the front splash shield off. I'm not gonna be dropping it. Just take my word for it that the underside of the engine is clean enough to eat off of. There is no seepage from the head gaskets, the cam cover gaskets, anything of the sort. Oil pan, rear main seal, everything is bone dry. So we'll start off by looking at the exterior of the car. There are a couple of paint chips. I mean, Subaru's notoriously thin paint. We've got a set of Michelin Pilot Sport tires on here, a matching set, basically brand new. But if we turn the tire, we see that these are from 2012, week 2 of 2012. So these tires are quite old and they're starting to show some dry rot and some wear and tear on them. Looked over the brakes. The brakes are pretty decent. I'm assuming they're the factory brake rotors and pads. No leakage from any of the struts all the way around. Everything is nice and tight as far as ball joints and tie rod ends. All of that good stuff. Again, a couple little paint chips here and there, some cosmetic stuff. Looking inside, and this car is a 5-speed manual. Now, just the other day, I replaced the shifter joint because the shifter was floppy and loose and refused to return to neutral. That has been fixed now, and I will show you just a little bit later on the old joint and why at 33,000 miles it had to be replaced. And again, this car is clean as a whistle inside, really well preserved, but for 33,093 miles, you would expect it to be so. We've got a couple little scuffs on the back bumper, but I don't know any older Subaru that doesn't have a couple scuffs on the edges of the back bumper at this point. And on the way around, in really good condition, other than a small hairline crack in the panorama sunroof. So under the hood, everything is basically factory stock and very clean. There are some aftermarket add-ons for wiring harnesses and the pneumatic brake depressor for this being a tow-behind vehicle for RV camping. The only service I think that we really have to do on this car is bleed out the brake fluid and the hydraulic clutch fluid. And there is an EVAP code we need to diagnose, but I'm waiting for the license plate insurance information to come to drive the car because I had to take the battery loose when I did some other services, and the code is cleared and I need to drive it through a drive cycle to get the code to pop back on. The battery tested poorly, so likely that battery will need to be replaced. As far as services thus far that have been performed, I did a time belt, water pump job on the car, and again, I'm sure you're saying, well, Mr. Subaru, why in the world did you put a timing belt kit on this car with only 33,000 miles? A timing belt on an EJ series engine is only supposed to be changed every 85 to 95,000 miles. Well, This is an '06. It had a factory belt from '06. You've got to take into account age and time as well as mileage. Just because it was low mileage doesn't mean that the belt was not needing to be repaired or to replace it. I've got the old components I can show you, but it was just starting to break down from dry rotting and age and sitting. Looks like someone had already put newer belts on it, so not concerned about the belts there. We do see that a furry little friend was in here at some point and did a little bit of gnawing and left a couple of little acorn shells and stuff in here. But as far as I can tell, none of the wiring has been damaged. No spark plug wires, hoses, anything vital to the running of the vehicle. All I can really see is where this cover for the alternator, hot wire was chewed on, and there was some debris left by a furry little friend. So along with the time belt and water pump, we did new coolant and a new thermostat. I'm probably going to go ahead and put a new cap on it as well. We've replaced the PCV hose and PCV valve. Again, it's about time for it. 3 years, 36,000 miles, or way over for the time, and right at it for the mileage. Going to do a throttle body cleaning here shortly. That was one other thing on the list. And power steering fluid is going to be replaced as well. And as far as I recollect, that's all the maintenance that's needed to complete the vehicle, get it ready for the customer to pick up. Had to recharge the AC system. It was weak when he got here. We went ahead and replaced, if I remember right, the O-rings at the high and low side at the compressor, and replaced our Schrader valves. I believe the Schrader valves were slowly leaking, again, just from age. And other than that, guys, this is a very clean, very dry engine, but you would expect it to be for 33,000 miles. You can see back there at the back of the camshaft cap, bone dry. And when we got under the car, again, sorry guys, I'm not taking the splash shield down, but bone dry there as well. No issues whatsoever. I have not pulled out one of the spark plug wires yet. I am a little bit worried that those spark plug tube seals might be leaking just from age alone. So guys, underneath the car, and as you see, it is pretty much spick and span. Crazy for an '06 to be this rust and corrosion free. I believe that the owner said that there was a wheel bearing replaced before he began his journey up here. And I see evidence that the ABS sensor wire bolt was left loose there. Looks like part of the exhaust was replaced. For what reason, I don't know. But we see this piece has been welded, patched in here. But everything else looks really, really good under here. Already checked everything, as I said previously. Just going over it again with you guys for the video. Yesterday I did the rear diff gear oil service, and I did a manual transmission gear oil service as well. And if we look right here, we can see that brand new shifter joint underneath the car, nice and shiny. So guys, here is the old timing belt set and all the parts from the car. Of course, we installed an Ison kit. Ison is all the factory Subaru parts, less the water pump, but it's a great water pump for about half the cost of buying the components from Subaru. Here we see our belt. Not terrible, but all of the writing had scrubbed off of it already, and it just looked like it was time to replace it again. It is a belt from 2005 or 2006. It is 2023. Just for age alone, we wanted to replace that belt. Here is our water pump and factory thermostat, our timing belt tensioner, idler pulleys. Our cogged pulley was already getting some debris, and the old single roller idlers were replaced with the double roller idlers just to give some more longevity there. And we look at our shifter joint here, and this is where all the slop was coming from. I did a full video on this just the other day. For those of you interested, you can look back at it. But the issue in this U-joint is that the rubber bushings break down and dry rot and crumble. 06 car in 2023. Mileage was not an issue here. It was time and age. As you see, the bushings are completely gone. It was just metal on metal here, and there was metal on metal here. The little eyelet in here had to be transferred into the new joint.
I believe these joints are like 30, 40 bucks for the cost and the pain it is to get in there and get those things out, drive the double roll pin out and pull that nut and bolt off the back. Might as well replace it. No need in fooling with the replacing the bushings. And here's our old PCV valve and hose. So yeah, that's what we've done so far. And talked a little bit about what we need to do still. And hopefully that shows you where a $1,500 bill in parts and labor is coming from for this car being so low mileage. Just because a car is low mileage doesn't mean that it doesn't need services, doesn't need repairs. Remember that. High mileage cars are perfectly fine as long as they are properly cared for and serviced. I've got plenty of Subarus over 200,000 miles, a couple over 300,000 miles, and don't have any issues with them, don't have any breakdowns with them, because I keep on top of the service, maintenance, and repairs. Now, in talking about the timing service, some of you might be asking, well, Mr. Subaru, why didn't you replace the crank and cam seals? Well, I quoted out the cam and crank seals at the beginning in the quote for doing the job, but once I got the timing set off, I noticed that someone had already been inside this engine and replaced the cam and crank seals because the cam seals were overdriven. They were driven in far deeper than they should have been. They were not leaking, they were in good condition, and I didn't want to risk tearing up or scratching the camshaft to get in there and try to pull those recessed seals out. Had to been installed at the proper level. I could have just got my seal puller in there and popped them out. But since I can see that they've been replaced recently, I'm assuming recently because I'm assuming that at some point the old cam and crank seal started leaking prematurely from age alone. I just didn't want to bother with it, so I didn't. So there is your answer for that. So guys, there you have it. There is a look at a 2006 Subaru Forester time capsule with only 33,000 miles, and surprisingly the amount of repairs and services it needs. Again, guys, don't buy on mileage alone, buy on condition and service history. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all in the next one.